Hey there. Greetings, my fellow Finbows Sovereign Thinkers. This is LO3's Views Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Wednesday, April 26, 2017. Yes, you hear the blender. I am at CJ's Java Lounge, located at 400 Southwest 1st Avenue, along the beautiful new rivers of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. If you go on the Andrews Avenue Bridge in the southwest section, the big, beautiful, luxurious pigeonhole called the New River Yacht Club. Pretty pretentious, I would say, but the facility here is cool. So, mom and pa, local shop local. Help the economy. That's how you help the economy instead of bending over to the big corporations. Yeah, I'll just do a little listening to a couple shows. Had one on McConnell on the pedophilia, global elite pedophilia, on the Richie Allen show. Yeah, he's on YouTube. Follow him there if you can. Good stuff. And of course, they're talking about North Korea again. The man baby, Kim Jong-un, whatever his name is, little boy in the man's body. Just praising him on how accurate that is. And of course, you're going to hear all sides. One on Venezuela. Always observe responsibly. That is the key, my friends. People get pretty offensive, very sensitive. And, oh yeah, well, this guy's a terrorist. Like they talk about the whole thing with Bashar Assad who attacked Syria. It's like they're trying to shove it down our throats. That really amazes me. Trying to play the same old song and dance they've been using for at least 100 years. Actually, I can say at least, but it's more than that. Brainwashing, propaganda 101. Many of you out there have people that you love and care about are diagnosed with the Jim Jones syndrome. You still folks still have that mindset. I'm not saying I'm better than them. But never, you got to take the initiative. I'm going a little further in what they teach you. Oops, almost knocked over the glass of water. And I was browsing through with the whole air nub, which the whole industry is going to the governments and the local level. Oh, you got to tax these people. It's not fair. There's no competition. I'm so sorry to you all big corporate hotels out there. My heart bleeds because you worry about the whole air nub ordeal. Air nub, whatever, I forgot what they call it. This is usually the places that you have the person that wants to rent their house or their room for a week or a month. But they're so offended. How sensitive they are. It's going to hurt our revenue. Stop. When you win these adult babies, will ever learn to stop playing street pie purebred. It's like, underdog, save me. I can't handle this competition anymore. Weak and pathetic folks. Of course, they lobby. They have these politicians pull down their pants for them. Like, okay, give it to me, baby. It's typical. Real typical. I would say keep on supporting those folks, okay? If the corporations get offended, it has to be good. Got to piss on corporate America once in a while. They need us more we need them, okay? Plain and simple. I'm still have those bad habits, okay? And I admit that. However, I look at them as a want, not a need. And everyone out there can do the same. Then the tides can turn a lot quicker. And if we even watch this little incident that broke out at Miami Beach, looks like some brawl happened at the Playwright Pub on South Beach. One of the bartenders videotaped it. The guy made a claim he's being jumped. He ran to the bar, and the two other guys got involved, and an altercation broke out. One day, you gotta be careful, folks. If you're gonna be the assailant and brawl at a facility, one day you gotta do it at the wrong location, and you're gonna get popped. by patrons because they don't like that crap. There's a lot of places I know. If you're going to have a fight in that bar and everyone knows each other, you're going to get a lot more you can chew on. Wait, what's going to happen? We need to call the police. If you love to dish it out, you better learn to receive. Now, what's going to happen? Who's going to believe you? Credibility is the best policy. Now, I'm not saying be the vigilantes and all that, but you don't go in a place to look for somebody and throw chairs, throw bottles at people, including the damn staff. You're a weak and pathetic coward as far as I'm concerned. This is South Florida. People do shoot back. Not trying to play some tough guy, but I used to bounce at clubs. I know the drill. And probably the security guy, maybe a young person, I'm not so sure, but he got injured instead of one of the bartenders. Something like that. You got to be methodical. Hopefully they're okay. Like I know they got a little bit banged up, but at least it wasn't life-threatening. Things do occur. That's why vigilance is the key. Have a safeguard in nature. And I'm not going to say they chose poorly, but things do happen. But that guy got to say, because I've been around people that try to start crap in some places, they all got a lot more they can chew on. Good attitude adjustment, not grievously bodily harm. Because here's a fact: is that the only language you can comprehend? Don't stay in your cave. Plain and simple. Because you be contaminating space. That's enough off my chest. So forgive me. However, just like browsing through some of the stuff here. I was getting ready to check out this video. Actually, it's an audio show by Richie Allen, based out of England. And here's an episode here, a segment goes, Scott Rickard. Trump is a petulant little boy and isn't controlled by his neocon masters. I will say this respectfully, yes, I could say Donald Trump is a patsy. I said the same thing about Barack Obama. I even like the man. And George W. Bush and many others. Like KRS-One said one time at the Obama deception, which was Infowars Alex Jones video. Barack Obama is just another franchise manager of Burger King. You can say the same thing about Donald Trump. Just an example. But, check that out. It's on YouTube. Just type in the Richie Allen Show. And, he's good. I got to give him credit. David Icke does it. As David Icke's involved. And it's a real good, he has some good episodes. Good guests. Good discussions. Lots of merit. So I'm going to, leave that there. It won't be on my footnotes. But, I just noticing what's going on. I just saw this yesterday about New Orleans. They want to take down some of the statues. They took a statue of Jefferson Davis. Looks like they took it down lately because people are offended. I'm so sensitive. It's about slavery. Shit. I'm going to be reading this by Boyd Cathy. Came from AbbevilleInstitute.org. It's entitled New Orleans, a people without a past have no future. It came out the 25th. And it says here, earlier this morning, local television from WRAL, Raleigh, North Carolina, broadcast news that the first of the 4 Confederate monuments in New Orleans honoring white supremacy will come down today. What a bunch of corporate butt boys, I would say. Fate of these monuments have been debated now for a number of years, with the majority black city government wanting to expunge these reminders of New Orleans history, while various heritage and preservation organizations have fought to keep them in place. The one that comes down today is the Liberty Monument, an obelisk erected in 1891 to commemorate the overthrow of Reconstruction. Proponents argue that this is a symbol of white supremacy and racism, while defenders declare that although it may be offensive to some, it's also an integral part of the city's history and thus should keep it where it is part of that history. But this is the remaining three monuments that raise with the most vociferous ire of traditionalists and those combined about preserving the historical record. The city plans to take down statues to Generals Robert E. Lee and P.G.T. Beauregard and President Jefferson Davis. Do these people have a damn clue what they're doing? I'll tell you this. General Robert E. Lee was against slavery, period. He supported states' rights. And I've read President Jefferson Davis' farewell address when he was a senator of Mississippi. And he talked about slavery and all that. And I'm not saying I support it. Okay, I don't. But I'm going to go further here. Unlike the Liberty Monument, which symbolizes the political redemption of the city from Reconstruction, the Lee, Beauregard, and Davis monuments commemorated exemplary individuals who ended up defending a lost cause. Though through honoring them, the city's fathers had honored the soldiers and extreme sacrifices and hardships endured during the brutal war 155 years ago. But as we know, history often does not treat the well champions of a lost cause. The victors usually write the histories and establish the narrative. That's absolutely true. The effort to take down these symbols reflects a frenzied desire to, in effect, efface proportions of our history, to revise the past if it no longer comports with the ideological Marxist vision that is currently fashionable and politically correct. Certainly, one could argue that each generation engages in a bit of revising. That is part and parcel of what human beings do, to enhance their history and their genealogy, while downplaying events and individuals that may not fit smoothly into the current narrative. Those who argue that the New Orleans monuments should come down suggest that what is needed is a reinterpretation and revised view of history, and that such monuments only serve to remind us of past sins of racism and white oppression, slavery, and rebellion. Yet a deeper issue demands consideration. What does such zealous purification and censorship, such abrupt dislocation, do to our understanding of who are we as people? What happens when we radically suppress, rearrange, and expel integral portions of our past? Does not such surgery leave us bereft of a fuller understanding of our historical experience? The great late 19th century Spanish philosopher Marcel Menendez y Pelayo once said of Spain that it was the shining champion, buckler, and defender of Christendom. This is your heritage, you have no other, he cautioned. Cannot the same metaphor be applied to the South? Can there be truly a real South without not only monuments commemorating noble men like Robert E. Lee, but also an understanding that men like Lee and Davis and Beauregard occupy a pivotal role in our history, and that their vision and their lives were exemplary and admirable witnesses in the difficult historical era in which they lived? Must everything be compressed and reinterpreted by a sharply defined ideological historicist litmus test? Where indeed does such a process of homogenization and rewriting stop? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and other founders of this nation were slaveholders. Must their monuments be taken down and their names suppressed too? Must their legacies be radically revised and their central role in creation of this nation be ideologically perverted? The triumphant cultural Marxist school of historic writing The Eric Foners of the historical establishment would have it so, and in doing so, they turn history into fanatical ideology. Hollywood and dominant popular culture follow along like yelping pups, parroting an offensive and over the top exaggeration and new dogmatism that reigns nearly supreme. One cannot transgress the new totalitarianism magnetism. Not only our media, our entertainment, and our educational establishment, but even some of our friends who should know better participate in this insane brainwashing acceptance that warps our understanding of our past. Our objective, then, must be to redeem our history, recover the past, paint it in all its colors, but keep all our monuments and all our artifacts up and visible, recognizing that not everyone will see them in the same light. Yet, even those symbols that some may find objectionable tell a story and open a window on our past. And to comprehend who we are, we neglect such a full vision at our great peril. A people without a past that is a real and discernible history is a people with no real future. And it tells you all this here, the monuments and all that, this extra stuff. It does baffles the daylights out of me. What's going to be next? Take down anything that Andrew Jackson, take down a statue of Andrew Jackson, and disband the reenactment of the Battle of New Orleans? He owned slaves. Okay. What about Abraham Lincoln? In his first inaugural speech, he didn't give a damn about the slaves. He believed they should be shipped back to Africa, another country called Liberia. Let's take down the Lincoln Memorial. To be very sincere, Thomas Jefferson, the Evening Congress, they passed the bill and Jefferson signed it to abolish the importation of slaves. See, this is on Article 1, Section 9 of our U.S. Constitution. And even with slavery during that time was dwindling, thanks to Eli Whitney, who invented the cotton gin. The trade of demand was dwindling. And I'm not going to go around saying allow them to get beat up on and all that. That wouldn't be right. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cruelty that happened during that time. You have to look at all sides of this unconstitutional war. You know what I say that? It was never civil. It wasn't a civil war. A civil war is in the nation itself. The Confederate States of America was enacted. Originally it was 6 states and became 13 later on. They had a Confederate States of American Constitution, very similar to the original organic U.S. Constitution, with some views, some alterations on the anti-federalist point of view. Many of them in Texas that were Mexican descent fought for the Confederacy. Great amount of them were Jewish by faith, served as well. There may be some controversy with Elijah Benjamin, supposed to be Jefferson Davis' right-hand man. There's a claim that he screwed him over. That's only allegations. I can't really prove that. If you got information on it, share it with me. As long as it has merit, share it. That'd be great. That's what we're here for, open discussions. And of course, West Virginia, they said it was never illegal. It was never legally ratified to be in statehood. Something to think about. Kansas fought for the Union. They had slaves too. So We're going to condemn the state of Kansas for their past history. And that's what's disturbing. It's just an example of cultural heritage and individualism. They want to crush it. They did to many with the Africans when they shipped them over here. They couldn't use. They tried to make them change their real names to the name they suit find. That's wrong as well. And who was cheaper than the Africans? The Irish. So there are white slaves as well around the country during that time. It's not a good who's right, who's wrong. You have to look at everyone's principles and different points of views. And what happened with this war between the United States and the Confederacy, like I said before, was never legally ratified by Congress. And the Reconstruction Act forced many of the states to go back to the Union. That was wrong too. The 14th Amendment, a lot of controversies on that. You look at my past episodes, I have information on that as well. We all got to learn from the past, my friends, because it's today's greatest teacher. Screaming and yelling at each other, calling each other names, isn't relevant. I look at everyone as individuals. If you want to stop this so-called racism and hatred and so forth, you know what we could do? Let's talk to each other. Daryl Davis did that. But members of the Klan, they forfeit their uniforms, and they gave it to him. People say, you should burn it. He goes, no. It's part of our history. He wants to make it as a museum. I can go on with this, but I am not really keen on what's happening. It's a form of censorship, and it's unacceptable. I want to add here as well, about Corey Stewart, who's running for governor of Virginia, and says here, Stewart on New Orleans statue removal, that they will not stop with Lee and Beauregard. As he got this at Woodbridge, Virginia. Republican gubernatorial national candidate Corey Stewart released a statement on the removal of Confederate monuments deemed racist in New Orleans. The removal of these historical monuments is nothing less than the blatant destruction of U.S. history, Stewart said. This is what happened when weak-chinned Republicans refuse to stand up to the tyrannical political correctness on the left. Democrats in New Orleans are destroying history today, just like they're trying to in Charlottesville. This will not stop with Robbie Lee or P.G.T. Beauregard. Next, they will tear down the statues of Washington and Jefferson. Don't be surprised, my friends. Don't be surprised. Okay? People won't like if we tear down the statue of Frederick Douglass or Martin Luther King. All hell will break loose. And I'm against that too. So, beware of the domino effect, my beautiful freedom loving sovereign thinkers out there worldwide. And another thing I'm going to add here as well is the Confederate Society of America. And it has, you can contact them, Confederate News, and they have one here, which is a long article, past Confederate history in the month of Georgia and other states. And this is vital. Like I said, my friends, we're never too old to learn. This disturbing conflict is a lot more complex than what we think. Yes, I am critical of Abraham Lincoln, but I'm real convinced the banksters assassinated him, and John Wilkes Booth was the perfect pawn because he used greenbacks instead of getting money from them, which means interest-free money. So yeah, definitely put that in there. Okay? It's good to know, and you can look it up, make your own judgments, and share it. We can have a cool conversation about this because we all got to learn something. Never too old to educate yourselves and share and educate others. You'd be real surprised what you know. All right, my friends. Okay, enough of that on that rant. Next one here, LouRockwell.com. Walter Williams, Dr. Walter E. Williams himself, African American, by the way, from George Mason University, did a commentary on columnist on environmentalists are dead wrong. Each year, Earth Day is accompanied by predictions of doom. Let's take a look at past predictions to determine just how much confidence we can have in today's environmentalist predictions. In 1970, when Earth Day was conceived, the late George Wald, a Nobel laureate biology professor at Harvard University, predicted civilization will end within 15 or 30 years unless immediate action is taken against problems facing mankind. Also, in 1970, Paul's best-selling book, author of The Population Bomb, declared that the world's population would soon outstrip food supplies. In an article for The Progressive, he predicted death rate will increase until at least 100 to 200 million people per year will be starving to death during the next 10 years. He gave this warning in 1969 to Britain's Institute of Biology. If I were a gambler, I would take even money that England will not exist in the year 2000. On the first Earth Day, Ulrich warned, in 10 years, all important animal life in the sea will be extinct. Despite such predictions, Ulrich had won no fewer than 16 awards, including the 1990 Crafoord Prize, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences' highest award. In International Wildlife, July 1975, Nigel Carter warned the threat of a new ice age must now stand alongside nuclear war as a likely source of wholesale death and misery for mankind. In Science News 1975, C.C. Wallen of the World Meteorological Organization is reported as saying, the cooling since 1940 has been much large enough and consistent enough that it will not soon be reserved. In 2000, climate researcher David Viner told The Independent, a British newspaper, that within a few years, snowfall will become a very rare and exciting event in Britain. Children just aren't going to know what snow is, he said. Snowfalls are now just a thing of the past. In the following years, the UK saw some of its largest snowfalls and lowest temperatures since records started being kept in 1914. In 1917, ecologist Kenneth Watt told a Swarthmore College audience the world has been climbing sharply for about 20 years. If present trends continue, the world will be about 4 degrees colder for the global mean temperature in 1990, but 11 degrees colder in the year 2000. This is about twice what it would take to put us into an ice age. Also in 1970, Senator Gaylord Nelson wrote in Look magazine, Dr. S. Dillon Ripley, Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, believes that in 25 years, somewhere between 75 and 80% of all species of living animals will be extinct. Since Harrison Brown published a chart in the Scientific American that year, estimating that mankind would run out of copper shortly after 2000. Lead, zinc, tin, gold, silver were to disappear before 1990. Scientist Harrison Brown published a chart in Scientific American that year, estimating that mankind will run out of copper shortly after 2000. And I already said that. Okay, I'll keep going here. Yep, I already said that. They said that there twice. Oh, what the hell? Lead, zinc, tin, gold, and silver were to disappear before 1990. The erroneous predictions didn't start with Earth Day. In 1939, the U.S. Department of the Interior said American oil supplies would last for only another 13 years. In 1949, the Secretary of the Interior said that the end of the U.S. oil supply was in sight. Having learned nothing from its earlier Norris claims, in 1974, the U.S. Geological Survey said that the U.S. had only 10 years' supply of natural gas. The fact of the matter, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, is that as of 2014, we have 2.47 quadrillion cubic feet of natural gas, which should last about a century. Hoodwinking Americans is part of the environmentalist agenda. Environmental activist Stephen Schneider told Discover magazine in 1989, "We have to offer up scary scenarios, make simplified, dramatic statements, and make little intentions of any doubts might we have. Each of us has to decide what the right balance is because being effective and being honest." In 1988, then Senator Timothy Ruth, Democrat from Colorado, said, "We've got to go to try to ride the global warming issue. Even if the theory of global warming is wrong, we'll be doing the right thing in any way in terms of economic policy and environmental policy. Americans have to pay a steep price for buying into environmental deceptions and lies." He has a great point. I'll try to say you got to always learn to protect the planet, and we don't want to ruin the earth. Because things do happen. However, you got these folks out here that are really exploiting it to the core and making money off of it. Something you got to really contemplate. Yeah, I do support industrializing hemp. You know, Henry Ford designed an engine that ran hemp fuel. If I'm correct, it's December 1942, Poplar Mechanics. Look it up. Very interesting things here. And, of course, be self-efficient. I like that, too. But you got to watch out for the hustlers out there, man. They want us to live in fear, have anxiety, and go, what should we do? Look, I was watching this ad about don't end the healthcare program with the Affordable Care Act. If you read the 926-page document, you'll be like, what the hell is this? Because they assume you're a bunch of illiterates. You got to take the initiative and do it yourself. Do your homework on this. I don't have all the answers. I'm not Ferris J. Whoopi. I admit that. But if you study history, like Dr. Walter Williams did, then you see the patterns. So, it's very good indeed to know about these things. Because one thing for sure, they always want to try to sell a product that has no merit, but many assumptions. And remember, kind of, sort of means no. Have you ever assumed in front of a judge? Try that one day. You see how they react. All right, next one here came from SHTFplan.com. Mike Slavo came out yesterday. Prepare for war. Trump asked all 100 U.S. senators to attend White House briefing on North Korea. With the U.S. naval fleet set to fully arrive off North Korean coast this week and the rogue state's leader, Kim Jong-un, reportedly continuing to expand his nuclear program and missile testing, President Donald Trump told the United Nations Security Council ambassadors that the status quo must change. The president has asked that new sanctions be placed on North Korea, something his predecessors attempted to implement with little success, as a form of declaration of war. But unlike his predecessors, Trump's latest move suggests he is prepared to commit U.S. forces to North Korea should the state fail to comply with demands to stifle their nuclear program. And according to a new report from Reuters, the president is doubling down his efforts, hinting that he is indeed preparing military action. The Trump administration officials will hold a rare briefing on Wednesday at the White House for the entire U.S. Senate on the situation in North Korea. All 100 senators have been asked to the White House for the briefing by Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, Director National Intelligence Dan Coats, and General Joseph Dunford, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and White House spokesman Sean Spicer on Monday. While administration officials routinely travel to Capitol Hill to address members of Congress on foreign policy matters, it is unusual for the entire Senate to go to the White House and for all four of those officials to be involved. Wednesday's briefing was originally scheduled for a secure room at the Capitol, but Donald Trump suggested a shift to a White House congressional aide said. Washington has expressed mounting concern over North Korea's nuclear and missile tests and its threat to attack the United States and its Asian allies. Having all 100 senators attend what is essentially an intelligence briefing about a country that has repeatedly threatened the United States with nuclear attacks suggests that the president is looking to convince congressional members that we may need to declare war on North Korea if they refuse to comply with new and existing sanctions. You already did by endorsing sanctions. Shoot. Given that the United States now has a naval strike group in the region, China has massed 150,000 troops on the border, and Russia is quickly following suit, it appears that it's only a matter of time before the North Korean invasion becomes reality. And we've witnessed in recent weeks, Kim Jong-un appears to be stepping up his rhetoric as well as his military aspirations. While the state has been allowed to run freely for the last decade by ignoring sanctions, President Trump has made clear that he's ready and willing to take military action, as evidenced by his missile strike on Syria before recently dropping the mother of all bombs on the Islamic State cave complex in Afghanistan. And we all know those caves were CIA created. North Korea is a different animal altogether. They reportedly nuclear capable, so there is a real possibility that they can launch a devastating attack on South Korea, Japan, or even the west coast of the United States, leading to hundreds of thousands of casualties and widespread geopolitical and economic chaos. Thus, any attack initiated by President Trump will likely result in response from North Korea, which could ultimately lead to a much wider conflict, as we really don't know which side Russia and China are on. President Trump likely understands the seriousness of the situation, which would explain why he has invited 100 senators to the White House for an intelligence briefing. Per the Constitution, only Congress can declare war, and it appears that exactly the direction we're headed. You can say whatever you want. I'm not too keen about this. All right? And sometimes I get really leery. Because if you study the Korean conflict, which is considered an illegal war by the UN, when the UN and U.S. troops coalition were going near the border, then they see the Chinese troops came back and started fighting back. So it was like a 3-year conflict. They had a truce, but it's been a lot of friction since that time. Kim Jong-un is just another man baby, as far as I'm concerned, like a little glam boy. Look, like you see his hands, like Palmolive hands, like baby hands. But the people in Korea, the people in that region, North Koreans, really want a war? I don't think so. A lot of stuff is happening over there. And hope and pray this won't be the case. Because we know for sure, one time falls, no one will arise. And I know there's just a little practice drill. What I'm seeing with the neocons and all that, the globalists in his group. So, okay, well, I'm not gonna rant on that all the time. Next one here came from Mike Mahary. Came out a couple days ago, and this one's here. Who are the real rhinos? Republicans dominate Tennessee politics. The GOP enjoys a supermajority in both houses of the legislature, plus they hold the governor's mansion. Last week, Republicans pushed through a gas tax hike. Now, that wasn't very Republican, was it? Every time Republicans do something dumb, I see people start complaining about rhinos, which is Republicans in name only. At what point do you say this is just what Republicans are? I asked this question on Facebook, and commenter protested that the GOP stands for certain principles. The words define the term. so long as they say being Republicans stand for certain principles and values. That anyone who doesn't is not a Republican by their own definition, or is a rhino, aka a poser. It seems to me the entire party is a poser, after all. Don't actions speak louder than words? Yep, I agree on that. And Republicans across actions and Republicans' actions consistently fail to match up with Republican rhetoric. They talk about constitutional fidelity and limited government, but year after year, Republicans ignore the Constitution when in power, and they constantly grow government, as the Tom Woods law states. No matter who you vote for, you get John McCain. My friend David Brenner put it perfectly. The real rhinos in 2017 are the ones with principles. People like Senator Rand Paul, Representative Tom Massey, and Representative Justin Amash. They are out of step with modern republicanism. The McCains and McConnells of the Wood represent the authentic GOP today. This is why I abandoned party politics a long time ago, why I pledged loyalty to a political party that constantly fails you. If somebody represents your principles, then vote for them. But don't be snowed by an R next to somebody's name. And another friend, Brian Balcom, put it, people think Republicans are conservatives. In reality, they're just Republicans. At the 10th Amendment Center, we don't get caught in party politics. We focus on the Constitution. If you'd like to help, you can join the TAC for as little as $2 per month. Those small memberships make a huge difference and allow us to keep things going. For more information, click here. And here's a quote of the week. The purpose of a written constitution is to bind up the several branches of government by certain laws, which, when they transgress, their acts shall become nullities, to render unnecessary an appeal to the people, or in other words, of a rebellion, on every infraction of their rights, on the peril that their acquaintances shall be construed into intention to surrender those rights. Thomas Jefferson. Notes on Virginia. Slaveholder. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, hey, I gotta agree, man. You got these posers, okay? And Republicans, just an example. The Democrats are the same thing. You got the elephants that never forget their stupidity and ignorance, and you got jackasses, okay? So what's the difference? What we say, elephants and asses screwing the masses. Because you know why? When it comes to government, you don't trust them regardless who's in there. But these little party politics, yay! My gang is better than yours. That's what they want you to believe. Good grief. Always focus on the individual's principles and actions. That's it. Yes, I am a political infidel. I don't give a damn what people think. Like I wasn't too crazy about the whole 2016 thing about Trump, Hillary, Trump, Clinton. Come on, you see their debates. It's like Laurel and Hardy, or it's so pathetic. Peppa Pig was more entertaining than that. I can't stand that cartoon. So this is just an example, my friends. They're in there. Doesn't mean you should sit back and be complacent. Be proactive. That's in those states as well. We'll come to that. You keep those bastards on their toes. You don't trust them. They have an obligation. Make sure they implement it to the core. Anyone can look it up now. You got the internet right in your lap. There's no excuses. So, like I said, they are the real rhinos. Look at John McCain, CFR stooge, right? Another proud bend over Bob to the New World Order. He's just an example. All right. Well, finally here. This came from the 10th Amendment Center yesterday. Texas House passes bill to prohibit sanctuary city policies. And says here, yesterday, a bill that would effectively prohibit so-called sanctuary cities that refuse to help enforce some federal immigration laws passed in the Texas House. Senator Charles Perry from Lubbock, Mike from Harry wrote this too. Senator Charles Perry, Republican from Lubbock, filed Senate Bill 4, along with 19 co-sponsors, the legislation would ban localities from adopting policies that prohibit or restrict local agents from enforcing federal immigration in most situations. Practically speaking, if local law enforcement in Texas want to utilize state and local resources to assist the feds with enforcement of federal immigration laws, local governments were not able to stop them. The House passed SB 4 by a vote of 93-49. It's previously passed the House by 20-10. The version passed by the House yesterday included a number of technical amendments. It will now go back to the Senate for additional consideration. Background. Some cities in the state of California have refused to participate in a narrow segment of federal immigration enforcement. In all these situations, government and law enforcement agencies in these cities didn't actively stop ICE from enforcing immigration laws. However, in a narrow sense, they simply don't provide any support or assistance to federal agents. These cities leave it to the federal government to enforce federal law. Non-cooperation with federal enforcement rests on the well-established legal principles as its anti-commandeering doctrine. Simply put, the federal government cannot force states of their political subdivisions to help implement or enforce any federal act or regulatory program. It would appear that President Trump recognizes this as well. In his January 25th executive order on sanctuary jurisdictions, he acknowledges that his policy of having state and local agents as interior federal immigration enforcement will be done with the consent of the state or local officials. As before, represents a constitutional way to force cities to help enforce immigration laws. The federal government cannot do it, but if the state decides if it wants to spend time, money, and resources assisting the federal government, they can certainly make that choice. What's next? SB 4 goes back to the Senate for consideration of the House amendments. So the whole thing is that you have to look at that too. The states can cooperate; they can't be forced. So it's based on this article. That's what McCary is stating, and that's what the bill is about: working together. Because yes, they have the federal government has some obligations, okay, of invasion. Because technically, if you're a legal immigrant, it doesn't matter where you're from. I don't care if you have the same surname as mine. Technically considered trespassing in good faith. I'm not trying to condemn, but it is considered you're transgressing. That's called invasion. It's like going on someone's property, you're invading, you're trespassing. Same thing, but it doesn't matter where you're from. Okay, so that don't even go there around me because it's not gonna work. The whole thing is this cooperation. That's all it is, working together. And alongside of consent. Yeah, we'll give you a hand on this, and that's it. That's how far they got to go. So at least with that, it has some logical points. It has some good logical points on here. And, hey, man, like I tell the people over here, if you're here legally, you got lawyers out there, immigration lawyers that will give you a hand. Just go to them. Stop hiding, for goodness sakes. Why are you here? That's, and I don't have to go through the whole thing what happened 300 years ago. It's like null and void right now. But what's happening now? And always got to look at the bigger picture. That's the name of the game. All right, my friends. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to send me something that's interesting you may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Minds.com, or Patreon.com/LookYouLook3rd. You can send donations to that site, Patreon.com/LookYouLook3rd, which is 3 eyes altogether. LookYouLook at 3 eyes altogether. Furthermore, you can email me at LookYouLook3, which is LookYouLook3 altogether at gmail.com, or if you have the encrypted friendly, privacy-friendly emailers out there, you can hit me on LookYouLook03, which is number 3 altogether at protonmail.com. All right, my friends, that is all for now. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.